Ric Bucher joins us, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports Radio, NBA analyst and insider. And he joins us here in the herd. Buke, how would you, if somebody didn't watch Game 6, how would you describe the game? Before we get to the end, how would you describe the game?
It was, I don't know, sort of, I would say that the ice flow that is the Boston Celtics just slowly but steadily ate up the Miami Heat. I mean, the general, the Alamo maybe, like putting up, I just feel like the Celtics depth eventually overcame the Miami Heat making a valiant effort to try to eke out that win. Like every time I looked at the score, I was like, man, the Celtics are only up like 4. Like they're only up 5. It just felt like the Heat were grinding to get anything. And yet the Celtics would do just enough or not enough to really put them away. And then, the end was really just, I know people are like, Jimmy Butler finally turned it on in the fourth quarter. Jimmy Butler found a way to get to the free throw line.
Well, but I mean, Al Horford personally responsible for his last 5 free throws. Like a really smart defensive player you want out there made 2 kind of boneheaded plays.
Yeah, for sure. But it really was like Jimmy kind of just driving and throwing himself into Allen and getting to the line.
Sure.
I think if he had stepped aside, I'm not sure that Jimmy wouldn't have front rimmed those shots like he did almost every other one. And he just, to me, he looks a lot like Steph Curry did at the end of the Lakers series, where he just is measuring how much he has left and took an approach in this game that I think was probably the exact opposite of what LeBron did in Game 4, where LeBron came out and he put everything out there in the first quarter, first half, and Jimmy was just trying to get to the end and then make something happen to bring it home. And in both cases, it wasn't enough.
Ric Bucher joining us, Fox Sports Radio, Fox Sports 1, NBA Insider. I'm Doug Gottlieb in for Colin. This is The Herd. So I played for Eddie Sutton at Oklahoma State, and he would always tell us end of games that the first shot doesn't beat you, the second shot does.
Yeah.
But have you seen this video of the wedding where there's Miami Heat fans and they have a flag and they're going crazy? Yeah. How come there's no part 2? There's no part 2. But
I don't think anybody had the heart to like video the second part, like when the discovery was made. And I'll be honest, like, so Jimmy Butler is my daughter's favorite player, and he was. I've never seen her as animated as she was, and I wasn't that. I knew I had to duck out, and so I listened to the end of the game, and then went back and watched it. But I texted her and I said, I wish I had been there when Jimmy made the 3 free throws. And I said, I'm glad I wasn't there when Derek White got the tip in. And she just like. She was devastated, as I think anybody who's either a Jimmy Butler or Miami Heat fan was. And to your point, like when it comes to the shot, like when the shot went up, except for Bam was the only guy that put a body on somebody. Every other Miami Heat player just looked up to see whether
ball watching. Yeah, it's called ball watching.
Yep, all of them. Every single guy.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Tatum, if it bounced off the front of the rim, Jason Tatum dunks it.
He probably gets that tip in too.
Yeah. I mean, it was and the shot nearly went in. But
I was fascinated by everything that you could take from that play. Jason Tatum being a decoy, which I think speaks volumes, because you're not one, he didn't try hard to get open. 2, with 3 seconds left, I don't know that you're trying to get him the ball above the 3-point line when it's a 2-point game. Jaylen Brown, to me, was the first option. And whether it was because Bam was on him or whatever, Derek White didn't see that. Marcus Smart always wants the ball, and I think you probably relate to this. Like, instinctively, when you have it, if some guy, like, really wants it and he's open, your instinct is, I'm going to get it to him.
Right.
And then the other part was Derek, like, relocated. If Marcus had thrown it right back to Derek, I think he's got a better look at it than Marcus had pivoting and shooting. So, I thought it was really interesting the way that Joe Mazzulla set that play up. And I think in small microcosm, it spoke volumes about who the Boston Celtics are, and each individual guy was, I think, just on full display on that last play.
Have we gotten to the point that we're tired of the Nuggets complaining that we're not talking about the Nuggets?
You know what? I honestly, I'm not going to begrudge them that, simply because, one, it has worked for them. It has been their theme. I think that Mike Malone is using it as motivation for his entire team, and it has worked. And let's face it. I mean, it's been pretty much they were the number 1 seed team in the West, and they win the Western Conference Finals, and it's instantly, LeBron's going to retire. What are the Lakers going to do? I'm not going to begrudge them that, because so many of their guys have stepped forward in this March in ways that I had not previously seen. Aaron Gordon, dedicating himself to being a defensive stopper. Michael Porter Jr. getting a little tougher and attacking the rim and rebounding. Jamal Murray, obviously, and his story, and even Jokic. So, and it's also, I've known Mike Malone since he was an assistant coach coming into the league. That's just who he is. That's he got that from his dad, Brendan. So, I'm okay with it, because I understand where it comes from.
Ric Bucher joining us, Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports Radio NBA Insider. Okay, so LeBron, shocker here, gonna come back for another year.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think the Lakers look like? Right? Like, it came out that the Mavericks they're not interested in a sign and trade. Like, they didn't trade all that stuff to let Kyrie go. The only question with the Mavericks is 2 or 4 years in terms of what they're going to pay him.
Right.
The Trae Young thing seems like a clutch deal, right? But I don't think that dog will hunt. What do you think they do?
Well, it gets really tricky. I've been told a couple of things, and I've been talking to a number of people over the last couple of days about this, because I'm going to write something for FoxSports.com on that very question. What do the Lakers do? What can they do? I think they're committed to Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura in terms of bringing them back. Now, what it costs them to bring them back is going to be the question. Can they, will those guys give them any sort of a discount? And some of it has to do with what's the market out for them. What's somebody actually going to offer them that the Lakers are going to have to combat against? And I don't think the market is as rich for Rui as it is for Austin. And so that's going to determine whether they can squeeze another they can squeeze a free agent signing in there. And that would be, letting D'Lo and I think Vanderbilt, they'd have to let some other pieces go. Be questionable whether they could sign back Dennis Schroeder. But the idea, there's 2 parts here. So the idea that they're going to add, Brooke Lopez or Kyrie or some big name free agent, I think is wildly optimistic. Being able to retain what they have, unless they can do the one caveat is, can you do a sign and trade with D'Angelo Russell? If you don't bring him back, or can you convince him, hey, sign a 1-year deal and we'll figure this out a year from now? There's a lot of massaging that Rob Pelinka is going to have to do with the players that they have if they want to add anything to the equation. But the second part is, everybody's like, can the Lakers build, another title contender? And I'm looking at the West. Denver's in their prime. Sacramento's coming. Memphis should be able to get their act together. There are just so many young teams that are on the cusp. Even Minnesota,
wait. If New Orleans is, obviously depends on Zion. Yeah. Phoenix is going to have to fill out their roster. They're not young with KD, right, but younger than
it's just the way.
Yeah, and then.
And I just don't know that the Lakers can improve enough. Bottom line is, I don't know that the Lakers can improve enough to say on any level that they would be going into the season a contender next season, in spite of how they finished this year.
Yeah, no, listen, I honestly, I don't think they beat Memphis if Memphis is healthy, to be totally honest, right? So
they have their big, yeah.
Right. They have they're both their bigs. It's a different series. Nonetheless, they did, but they got swept. Let's not act like they were super competitive. They got beat 4 games to none. Adrian Griffin's new coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. That's a new face, right? That's a guy who was a player. Yep. He's been an assistant in Toronto, but there's a lot of thoughts that, hey, these teams with championship aspirations, you got to hire a coach with a championship pedigree, and there's several out there. Nick Nurse, yep. You name it. There's. Doc's still out there, obviously. You have several. Who are you most confident will get which of the remaining jobs?
I don't. Honestly, I don't have the curious thing. Well, I would say, look, I expect Nick Nurse to get hired. And thinking about all the guys that are out there.
You got Frank Vogel out there. He's got a title, right? He's interviewing for every.
Yeah. I just look at how guys played for Nick and how quickly he came along and what his background is. I will say this, I think with the Adrian Griffin hire and looking at some of the other hires, like the value of having a coach with playing experience, it's kind of flipped. We've gone retro now, where being a former player or having understanding, you don't have to be a great player, but understanding the mentality of players and being able to reach them and motivate them, or understand how to motivate a player,
sure,
has gained value in the marketplace. Whether it's Ime or Joe didn't play in the league, but has a player's mentality. Darvin Ham, obviously, that's kind of become the new flavor. And it's so funny how that happens, where we see trends in the NBA like you see in every other business.
Sure.
It's suddenly like this becomes the flavor of the day, and I think that's what we're seeing.
Last thing, who wins tonight?
I can't go against Boston at this point. I hear Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler. I love the fight. I love the story. I'd love to say that they're going to get it done, because I feel like it's just Boston has messed around, but it's diminishing returns for the Miami Heat. It's not that like Butler and Spo and the Heat didn't want to win Game 6 or didn't show up and play. I think they're just worn out. I think they've expended everything they've got, and to think that you're going to go on the road and summon the energy that is necessary. And look, a lot of X's and O's that goes into this stuff, but I really think at this point, it's just a matter of the Celtics being deeper and fresher, and they're going to be on their home floor. I just find it hard to believe that they're not going to pull it out. And on the other hand, I do think that the finals, a Boston-Denver final, would be far more intriguing than if we got Miami-Denver.
No question. I don't think that affects the officiating or anything tonight, but it's. I mean, you have, because Boston is Boston, because of their seed, because they were in the finals last year. I don't think there's any doubt. Buke, great stuff. Enjoy your Memorial Day. Thanks for joining us.
You do the same, Doug.